on a perceptional level to them. So in order to be relatable, you got to look like them. So sometimes the stuff that I wear is really my costume. And when they hear me speak a certain way, that's going to galvanize that person because I'm able to be relatable. Just like Black Dot, when he told me, he said that, I forgot who the speaker was, but he bought a Hennessy bottle at his event and he was drinking the Hennessy as he was spitting the knowledge. The reason he did that is because he had to make himself relatable. And the only reason people stayed is because that damn Hennessy bottle was present during the whole thing. Because you had people in the crowd that drank Hennessy and stuff like that. So sometimes, like I said, you got to use the matrix in order to get out. That's how you pull people out. It's a form of alchemy. You know what I'm saying? Some people like, I'm not going to wear no suits. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to wear, I'm going to wear what I want to wear. I ain't wearing all types of crystals and stuff, even though I got that stuff, but that's not what the awakening is all about. The awakening is being a chameleon in a form of balancement. You know what I'm saying? You got to make yourself relatable if you want to wake people up. Some people stray away from consciousness because they think that you got to look a certain way in order to get information. I had one brother ask me, he said, I got to start wearing stuff like that in order, if I start like tapping it, I'm like, nah. Look how you want to look. Be yourself. You know what I'm saying? I said, you see how I'm talking to you and you see I'm speaking from a high frequency. Do you see me wearing that type of stuff? No, that's not what it's all about. You know what I'm saying? That's what balance is. That's just like when back in high school, a lot of girls, they wouldn't even talk to you. They'd look at your shoes first before they even talk to you. If you have some dirty shoes on, they'll go away from you, right? That's how I present myself. I know people are very much captivated by materialism. So you got to use the materialism in order to wake people up. That's my costume. So that is basically the apex of authenticity. Authenticity is the highest frequency that's basically above love. Because if you love yourself intuitively, if you love your people intuitively, you will use the tools and the resources to pull them out of their situation. That's what leadership is all about, right? Let me see. I already answered that question. Let me see. Let me see. Y'all can ask me some more questions. I'm going to take about 5 more questions. And then I'm going to have to vacate the premises. Because I got to get some studying in because I'm at this moment of time, I'm reading like 4 different publications. And I got this publication that Rod gave me last night that I'm tapping into about the blood rights and stuff like that and how they use certain organizations to extract our energy by way of the blood rights that's connected to their political system. So I'm doing that. So I got to tap into my studies. So, I take that very seriously. Let me see. Wait, I'm looking for a question. Ain't nobody. Okay. When does etymology come into play in this spiritual metaphysical? Etymology comes into play is really when it comes to etymology, that's really good for when you're trying to break down monotheistic religion, when you're trying to understand the esoteric aspect of it, when you want to understand certain words that's being used in the Bible. Etymology is key when you're trying to understand civics. Because like I said, the church and the state is not separate, because when you start to break down these words intrinsically, right? Just like the word Lord is equated to the word lawyer, right? Your landlord, lawyer, that is all connected to the factions of government and the factions of the political system. So etymology is key when you want to understand the esoteric, what's going on behind the scenes. Okay. I'm a thermo engineer. That's what I do. I know how to build extruders, break them down, build them up, work on them. That's what I do. But like I said, I'm tired of working. You know what I'm saying? I'm done with the matrix, bro. Like totally done. Like this is what I want to do every day. Like, you know, give people free information. This is what I want to do. But like I said, it's one of those things where you gotta be operating from a place of balancement, because that's the personification of equilibrium. That's what makes you a god. So I have times where, you know, I got my job, I got my study days, I got days when I do my reading, I gotta be a dad, I got full custody of my son, you know, all types of stuff. That's what balancement is. You know what I'm saying? That's what makes you a god. In order to balance yourself. Because when you're not balanced, that means that you operating from a place of dark psychology, which makes you non sequitur, right? Meaning that you're going to be operating from a place of illogical energy. You ever seen somebody who wasn't balanced? You know what I'm saying? They got all these problems in their life. You know what I'm saying? All these problems in their life. So it really comes down to the point where you have to prioritize certain energies. Because if you try to take on too many energies, it's going to put you in a state of over-emotionalism, which leads to depression. And that depression is when these entities can take upon your physiology, because now your nervous system is being manipulated. So yes, I'm a Libra. I'm a triple Libra. But yeah, that's what I do for a living. I'm an engineer. And I did a show with Brother Rich talking about my job. Basically, I even bought this a part of the presentation, because one thing you got to understand, as I was telling you before, the doctrine of signatures of all technology is an emulation of who we are genetically. When you look at an extruder machine, an extruder has 7 different chambers. Those 7 different chambers is equated to the emulation of your chakra system. They just like extruder has a discharge transducer. Your head is the neuroendocrine transducer that shoots out light vibration and it takes in light vibrations of gamma radiation. It has the same thing. So that's where the inception of extrusion and engineering, it actually derived from ancient chemistry, right? So everything is spiritual, but you just got to understand it. You know what I'm saying? Everything is spiritual. Okay. How does speaking? Like, all right, for instance, like when you speak, the octave vibration of your voice contains carbon emissions. Carbon is highly magnetic, especially when you operate from a place of tonal languages, because the octave frequency contains silicon and carbon. Those carbon emissions operates with the ethers in the form of magnetism, right? So also manifestation is conducive to the platonic solids, as I was talking about in the AAA Lionsgate portal video that I put out 5 days ago. When you speak certain things into existence, you have to think these thought forms in geometrical shapes, and you trap them and you upload it into the neurological interface. You upload them into the neurological interface and you download it inside your brain computer, right? And that's where the manifestation takes place. It starts with the mind first, right? It starts with the mind, because the holonomic brain theory denotes the fact and demonstrates that your neurotransmitters and your neurons in the brain is connected to the quantum world. That's how you manipulate the ethers, by way of the quantum world. There's a tethered connection to it. So if your energetic frequency and your thoughts leave an energetic imprint on the universe, that's where you stream down the intelligence, right? You stream down the intelligence and you entrap that energy inside of a geometrical shape, which is a platonic solid. What are your thoughts on the restructuring? In my opinion, I believe, like I said, you got to do, it's one of those things where we got to tap into the energy of homeschooling our kids again. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm done with the whole infrastructure of, westernized anything. I don't rock with this system at all. I'm anti Western civilization because everything that they teach you, you know what I'm saying, like, is actually, backwards. It's an inverted frequency. Let me see. And if you was in here from the Gathering of the Masters and you met me, I appreciate you guys. It was a great turnout. It was a great turnout. Yes, through your pineal gland and pituitary gland. But the hypothalamus gland, the master gland, the pituitary gland, and the pineal gland is basically the embodiment and the blueprint that's connected to the three suns that creates the energy of the Lionsgate portal. Just like I said in my last video, just like you have a portal opening up in the atmosphere, you have a portal opening up in your mind. That's how you manipulate the simulation for manifestation. Whatever, you got to put those thought forms, but you can't just not be proactive. You got to be proactive during the process of your manifestation. You got to do the legwork. You don't just sit down and manifest, you know what I'm saying, without doing no work. Let me see. The Crystal City, I even did a demonstration on this. The Crystal City is not only subjected to hollow earth theory when you're talking about the city of Shambhala and Agartha. You are the Crystal City, right? You are the Crystal City because when you understand the bioluminescent frequency of the carbonated body, what happens is it has to transmute into carbon-6, which is 6 electrons, 1 photon, 6 protons, 616. So when you become a crystalline state, that creates the bioluminescent frequency that lights up your whole etheric light body, right? Which is your Merkaba light ship. So the Crystal City in itself is not only a actual place, but we are the Crystal City, right? Because like I said, just like you have a macrocosm, you have a microcosm. Because the ancients, they understood, they built their civilizations based upon the infrastructure of who we are genetically. That's why when you see certain things, you'd be like, damn, like, that reminds me of the chakra system. Oh, damn. That looks just like that monolithic structure reminds me of the pineal gland. Everything they built is to remind you of who you are. I'm gonna get to 2 more questions and then I'm gonna head on out. Now, one thing, when you chosen, you have a certain energetic frequency that when you walk into the room, the energy shift. When you have the ability to do that, that's what makes you chosen, because being chosen is basically an unspoken language because it operates from a place of mysticism. You ever seen somebody where people just, they don't like that person and you don't understand why, and they don't have no reason to not like that person? Those are the chosen ones, the ones that's not liked for no reason, right? Because your energy and your frequency and your vibration disrupts their demons, right? Because a lot of people, when it comes to that, like, being chosen, like I said, it's a gift and a curse. because you got to deal with a lot of bullshit that comes with it. You got to deal with a lot of bullshit. You got to be a parent to your parents. You know, well, I ain't got to be a parent to my parents. I got really good parents, but when it comes to this knowledge, you know, they don't understand the things that I understand. You know what I'm saying? But when you chosen, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, everything is going to, you know, people are going to castigate you. They're going to scrutinize you. They're going to ostracize you, especially at your job. They're going to do all types of mechanisms to, you know, to knock you off your path. So everybody, like I said, everybody is not chosen because, like I said, you can tell when you're around somebody who's highly magnetic. You know what I'm saying? But you walk in a room, everybody's staring at you. You know what I'm saying? That's because, you know, they're trying to basically read your frequency. And when people don't have the ability to read you, that's when they become combative. If people can't read your frequency and you operate from a place of mysticism, they always want to be in your business, but they can't find out about you, right? You are the chosen one. You know what I'm saying? People are always trying to compare themselves to you, you know, competing with you for no reason. That's how you know that you're chosen. Everybody ain't got that chosen one frequency. Let me see. Salute to Kentucky. I'm right by Kentucky. I'm on the demarcation line of Kentucky and Indiana. Salute to Kentucky. Okay, I'll give y'all some book recommendations. I think I got some books in. Let me see. Let me see here. Right now I'm reading Breaking the Spell by Dr. Malachi Z. York. Read that. Read this book called Taken. It's called The Inside of the Alien Abduction Agenda by Carla Turner. The ISIS Thesis by Judy K. Mikovits. Read that. Read The Circle 7 if you want to get like some monotheistic spiritual breakdowns, because you can always get some edification from some type of monotheistic books. Let me see, because this is the only thing I got. This is all my library. All these books you see, these are all books. I got thousands of books on here. But my personal library, like I ain't got all my actual books. I got a lot of physical books. If you want to get an understanding about the Canaanite bloodline, read The Sons of Canaan by Dr. Malachi Z. York. If you want to get a intuitive breakdown about the book of Revelation, read L's Holy Angel. It's an esoteric level of the book of Revelation. Read that publication. Very great book. Okay, I got some super chats in. Let me see. All right. If I'm a so-called black American, no, not exactly. And the reason I say that is because, like, the word black is really a status identification marker that's connected to the caste system of Western civilization that is being controlled by the dark priesthood of the Vatican Church by way of ecclesiastical law and maritime law that works in tandem with the canon laws, which is a corporate internal code under commercial law. So when you call yourself black or Mexican or whatever, you had indigenous Mexicans, just like you had indigenous so-called black people who are basically the Native Americans, right? So really, like I said, it's under the same umbrella. But one thing, when it comes to genetics, you also got to understand that the father is the one who bears the seed. But that, I guess you could say that makes sense though. But it doesn't affect your melanin though. long as you got that one drop of blood, you're basically considered human. And salute to Ace Jones. Salute to you, brother. Appreciate you. Yep, they not like us. They not like us. Let me see. All right, now I can get to moving. Okay. Yep, that's a fact. You need physical book. That's why when you watch these videos, you're supposed to be writing notes, bro. Like you ain't supposed to be, on like I got books and notes on my pad and stuff like that, but I got physical notes and I got books. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the only way you can pass down the intrinsic information about who we are historically, you know what I'm saying, and spiritually. You can't, when the grid goes down, there is no technological devices. You won't be able to operate a vehicle after the year of 1975. So that's how bad it's going to get when it comes to, the grid going down. Everybody's not prepared for that. And that's when you're going to have the smorgasbord for the archonic forces to come to the surface of the planet, and they're going to feed on certain individuals who are operating from a low vibrational state. But that's a whole other topic. We ain't talking about that right now because we ain't at that time right just yet. But it's going to get weird. It's going to keep getting weirder and weirder as we go through this great awakening process. Just like that guy, that white guy who disappeared, he had a device to where he was able to see these entities and these archonic forces or these draconian reptilians that don't take corporeal form because they hide themselves by way of the liquid crystal polarization, by way of technology, by hiding themselves through subatomic energy and subatomic particles, because we live in a pixelated simulation. So the more the planet wakes up, it's going to crack open that dome. When the dome cracks open, that's where the photon structure in the spectrum of it is going to have to reverse its polarity, right? Meaning that it's going to eradicate the photon light spectrum. And you're going to be able to see these beings, right? So, that's why I said, the more we get through this great awakening period, it's going to get weirder and weirder. So prepare for what is to come. You know what I'm saying? Prepare. Get your water and all that stuff ready. You know what I'm saying? It's better safe than sorry. You got people talking about they ready for the great awakening and all this stuff that happened, and they ain't even been hitting the gym. You know what I'm saying? You got this knowledge, but can you fight? What, you know what I'm saying? Like, what if somebody pull up and they want to throw hands? You can't fight. You know what I'm saying? You don't have no type of artillery. You know what I'm saying? It's not just about the knowledge. It's about, like I said, it's balancing. Because, you know what I'm saying, when it comes to the information, at the same time, a lot of people, they going to, the information that you're going to put out is basically going to make people combative. And they're going to attack you for it. So you got to have the hands. You know what I'm saying? You got to stay in shape. That's what it's all about. You got to be prepared on all levels. You can't just be prepared just on the knowledge. The premonitions is operating by way of the ethers being activated. Because like I said, our thoughts leave an energetic imprint on the universe. And these thought forms have to materialize. And sometimes they come in a form of a dream. Or they come in a form when you just meditate and you get a download. You know what I'm saying? Like we really got to prepare. It's another thing. We have to, start seeing more of our people in the gym. Every time I go in the gym, I'm like the only brother in there. I don't see no type of so-called black women in the gym. We got to start getting in the gym. We got to start taking care of ourselves because, like I said, the grid goes down. That's when all shit is going to hit the fan. People are going to be operating from a place of self-preservation where they're going to have to galvanize their resources, right? So you're gonna have an autonomous system in order to protect yourself. What if you have to go out and you running from some you running from a demographic of people who is trying to infiltrate your camp? You know what I'm saying? You got to vacate the premises. You can't even run a mile. You can't run 2 miles, right? So that's why I say you got to get in the gym. You got to work on yourself, because like I said, it's going to come down to the point where you got to now. One thing I can't do, I can't swim. That's one thing I need to work on. I need to learn how to swim before 2030, because if I don't know how to swim, it's a wrap. Because in case I got to jump off a boat or something. But you know what I'm saying, you got to be prepared. So that's one thing, and I'm working on myself. That's my goal. I can do enough to where I can jump off a diving board and doggy pedal back to the side, but I need to learn how to swim. That's my personal goal for myself. But yeah, that's all a part, man. You got to be balanced, bro. You got to, like I said, somebody trying to attack you, you got the hands. It's time for you to swim. Okay, I can swim to the other end of the shore so I can be safe. Okay, now they can't manipulate me through politics, because I got the knowledge on that. Now I know who's who and what's what, because I understand the esoteric knowledge. You got to be balanced on all levels to survive the Great Awakening. It ain't just all about just reading books. Books is just a catalyst for knowledge, and the application of knowledge is the precursor to enlightenment, right? So that's what that's all about. The system is crumbling, like you said. Shout out to Mark Francisco. Let me see. I'm gonna get one more question in, because we already at the 2-hour mark. I'm gonna get one more question in, and then I'm gonna go ahead and dip out, because I got to do some reading. I already answered the question about gang stalking already. Okay, we can talk about the Hyksos. The Hyksos is basically a derivative of the Canaanite bloodline that infiltrated ancient Kemet, where they introduced cannibalism to the Kemites. So that was the beginning points of the infiltration of the patriarchal order, right? When you're talking about the Hyksos, the Greeks and the Ptolemies and things of that nature, because we all know that the Hyksos were the same beings that was kicked out of ancient Kemet when they were, because some of those beings, they were genetically spliced in 4086 BC on the island of Patmos, or you could say the island of Peline. They were genetically spliced, and that's why they go through the ritual in Freemasonry. When you have the cable toe around the neck, which is basically the embodiment of a tie. When you wear a business suit, the cable toe around the neck, your eyes blindfolded with the pants leg up, which is the symbolism for a vagabond. A vagabond is a wanderer, because these Canaanite and these Hyksos, they don't have a homeland. When you break down the etymology of the word Khazar, it means wanderer. A wanderer comes from the land of Nod. The land of Nod is also the embodiment of planet Saturn. Planet Saturn is also known as the place where the Saturnians came in. When you're talking about the 200 fallen angels, which is 1/3 of the galaxy that went against the order of Anu, and they fell from grace, which is basically the precursor to the cherubim, which is also known as Black Draconian archonic forces. So the first Canaanites were actually black. That's what I'm saying, because it's all there's a process that takes place when you're talking about gene splicing. It's I think it's an 800-year process when they facilitated that analogy or whatever. But but the first Canaanites were actually black, and then you break down the black gene and all the way down to the pale gene and things of that nature. And the pale gene is where you got the Hyksos came from. That's when they infiltrated ancient Kemet. So that's why the black Canaanites, or the Blackamoor, they gave the edification to the pale-faced Hyksos. Right? That's why when you read, when you look at Freemasonry, they're basically a derivative of the Moorish paradigm. right? Because they used the edification that they got from the Blackamoors to steal your birthright when they came over here and stole the indigenous land. That's why I showed in the publication of the 1848 Supreme Court decision, it said that the original mound builders of the geographical landmass of America are the title holders for 1,000,000 square miles. A million square miles. 1,000,000 square miles, that's 640 million acres of land. That's basically all of America and then some, right? I got a super chat question. Let me see. But the Hyksos, okay. I received a download from the Sun on the 8 right before your video. The best way, take blackberries. Blackberries, it activates the melanocytes. So the melanocytes, once they're activated, take blackberries before you go to bed. Anything that's conducive to the conscious energy grid of your chakra system, when you're talking about the hypothalamus gland, is going to activate that master gland. Eat blackberries. It helps you remember your dreams. Make sure you get some ones that got seeds in them too. Also, you can take colloidal silver or monatomic gold. It can basically reverse engineer the calcification of the pineal gland. One more question and I'm out. I'm definitely going to do more lives, and I appreciate you guys for tapping in. I'm going to do one more question though. And then, on top of that, make a dream journal. That way you can remember. Salute to Lyron. The feminine energy on the planet is happening right now because we're in the sun cycle, right? Because the lunar cycle of patriarchy, it basically extracts energy from the women, right? Which is why the women have a menstrual cycle, right? Because in ancient times, the word, the E used to be interchangeable with the word with the letter O. So your menstrual cycle is your menstrual cycle. MON is connected to the energy of the moon. Women are not supposed to have menstrual cycles, right? You're not supposed to have menstrual cycles. But just like I said in my last video, if you want to make your, as a woman, if you want to make yourself more highly magnetic, up your intake of iron, especially if you're an indigenous woman with carbon in your physiology. Make yourself highly magnetic to the point where you're not subjugated by the lunar like frequency, which is the silver key. The silver key is a representation of the moon. So the divine feminine energy right now on the planet is operated by the age of Aquarius under the sun cycle, which is the restoration of a matriarch. Sometimes, this is one thing when it comes to the biggest misconception, sometimes the ringing in your ear is not only subjected to something spiritual, it can be something wrong with your physiology, meaning that you have nanometals in your body. So a lot of times these nanometals is operating through a frequency light spectrum that you can't see. You got many different frequencies from technology, technological devices. Sometimes it can just be your physiology being manipulated as your body is trying to unlock certain codons. So, like I said, if you want to extract a lot of the metals from the body, up your intake on chlorophyll. But I'm about to end it. Let me see. I think I got another super chat quick. And salute to you, Autumn. I appreciate you. But I'm about to end this transmission, and I appreciate you guys for watching. At the next gathering of the masters, you definitely got to be at the next one. I don't know if it's going to be one next year or in the next 2 years or whatever, but you should have been there. It was, it was high energy. The Lionsgate portal was opened up. You had everybody coming from many different cities. And like I said, that was just a small fraction of your 144,000. So that's why the energy in the building was so intense. You know what I'm saying? You had, Queen Afua, she was up there speaking. She had so everything within this holographic universe, like everything is basically cube shaped. Everything is basically the personification of the hexahedron that basically subjugates your whole auric field, which is your dodecahedron, your etheric field. So everything is really to block out the energy so you're not able to reap the benefits of those electrical transmissions and those plasma energies that's coming from the star polarities. So all this is acclimated to the Black Sun prophecy. All this is connected to the Leviathan prophecy because, as I was saying before, whether if it's minuscule or it's very trivial or mundane, it doesn't matter. Everything is all connected. So that's my perspective on that. Everything is really just an energy extraction to where you're not able to tap into those etheric energies.
So do you believe it's the sun that is activating these powers in certain people?
Well, when you understand the two celestial bodies within the infrastructure of the simulation, the sun and the moon are basically amplifiers and buffers and converters that operates on fractions of light that is extracted from the star Polaris. The star Polaris is what I call the galactic sun, and that galactic sun is basically the epitome of the transmission that's hitting the planet, and that in itself is going to create a form of ionization. And when you have that ionization, it manipulates the energy grid system. So that basically dismantles the liquid crystal polarization within third density. Because when you go to not Revelation, but Genesis in the Bible, it talks about how Satan separated the intergalactic waters from the third dimension. But the reason I said Satan, because when you understand the esoterics of the word God with a capital G and lowercase letters, that is basically Enlil according to Sumerian mythology. So when you separate everything like the fifth dimension from third density, that creates that photon spectrum. That photon spectrum is connected to subatomic energy. That subatomic energy is how you basically subjugate the energy that's coming from the star Polaris. So it's a spiritual cutoffs, because everything as far as the spiritual sun, it is basically the personification of magnetism. Because as I was telling people before in the last video I had, your magnetism is your magic. That's how you tap into certain spiritual abilities. So that firmament is basically the problem. That firmament is the spiritual cutoff. This is why it happens in increments. Sometimes we were able to tap into a level of telepathy. We're able to tap into a level of telekinesis and things of that nature, psychometry, clairvoyance. We don't have those abilities intrinsically. It's because of the firmament. But according to the Black Sun prophecy, when you have the Black Sun working in conjunction and unifying with the star Polaris, that's going to put the green electrical field over the planet. It's a green emerald. It basically gives a certain vibration to the Schumann resonance that operates in tandem with the heart chakra. So you got to be operating from a place of authenticity in the love frequency in order to tap into those energies. So everything that you're seeing right now, as far as with the incident that happened yesterday with the 47th president that's going to be in office pretty soon.
Polaris, I believe it's Polaris or the Big Dipper and the Little Dipper. It makes a sigil in the sky. I don't want to say it, but I'll show here.
Oh,
and this book, well, I mean, this book is The Empire on Which the Black Sun Never Sets, because the third realm was very into. What's up, Ani? the third. What's up?
With y'all, man?
Hey, we're live on YouTube, Ani, so we got to keep it a little, not too PG, but just a little.
That's cool, man. What's
I'm gonna get in trouble.
My question for BDELL is that Polaris seems to be very important to the ancients. Even the Georgia Guidestones had a little glory hole, I call it, that pointed straight to Polaris. Polaris, it doesn't move. So we can see that this is an important symbol, an important star, or whatever it is. And so whenever this aligns at a certain time, things change. I forget where I was going with that. I'm just excited to be here.
Yeah, a lot of the reason that's in correlation actually, because a lot of the stuff happens when you at the close of an age, and it all works in tandem with the precessional circle of the equinox. So
there's a strong connection to Polaris too with Nibiru, and with the whole power thing. Some people believe it's an allegory. Other people believe it actually is talking. I always love to hear your theories. And one thing you told me a long time ago that changed how I podcast. You told me certain people weren't able to have conversations. Like they just had to be in echo chambers and only hear what they could believe. But the real good people, they could have conversations. Even if they didn't believe something somebody was talking about, they could still have that conversation. And when you mentioned that in a live before with us, and that really resonated with me in, the way I interview now, because we're not all going to agree on everything. And if you got someone just trying to, tear down a person's theory or something, it kind of makes the podcast suck,
Right.
So that really stuck with me. And you said it much better. It sounded more intelligent when you said it. Way more intelligent. But could you break down your theory on the DNA activation, what you think about it?
Yeah, I think it's a theomorphic consciousness. It's a term that a new Gnostic sect was coming up with in the late 60s with some of the BDELL movement and things that came out of the Kenneth Grant sects as well, where they were saying that there will be an aeon of people who unlocked certain abilities spiritually. So that's why when you ask me about Supercell and me looking at the show, and when we did the last breakdown of abilities, I believe it's more spiritual than it's somebody actually flying or these things. Now, there are texts going back to slavery that melanated people actually flew home from America back to Africa. You can actually type that in. It's called the slave narratives. It's called the slave narratives. You can type it in and type in slaves who flew home.
Did you ever hear that story? David Wilcox talked about that dude from Africa that the government tried to kill him and he had superpowers and they chopped him up. And this dude kept remanifesting and coming back. Like they would try to kill him. And he said one day that there will be a lot of us that come and you can't take us all out. That was a story anyways. Cool story.
Yeah, there's been plenty of priests in different magical systems, spiritual systems coming out of the diaspora, which a lot of things, just like how we look at voodoo or abilities that some of their priests or priestesses, their mambos may have these certain abilities. It comes straight out of the continent, but there were also things going on here, with hoodoo, where they had never learned certain sciences that some of the people were bringing over to Louisiana. That's why that's a big central area. Whereas this woman, a Creole woman by the name of, her name is slipping my mind right now. But
what does Creole
they said
mean?
that
I always wondered that. What's Creole mean?
it's just a mixture of French and Negro and something else. It's a mixture of mainly it's a blend of that. It's just a lighter skin tone person of African descent that has French blood. But there was a woman who was able to conjure tornadoes and hurricanes coming out of Louisiana. A matter of fact, she said at her funeral, well, the day before she passed, that there was going to be a hurricane, and they didn't believe her. and she
How
was
about the dragon people, Ani? In the Chinese culture, there's called the dragon people, and they believe there was like these reptilian entities that could manipulate the weather and hurricanes. You ever hear about them?
no, I don't really, I don't really get into the
There's the
reptilian.
Naga. If you look into the Naga and these different,
I believe that there are airbender people that learn certain interwoven connections with chi that can connect to the elementals, and there is a manipulation. But I don't believe or subscribe to this new theory, whereas the DNA is going to all of a sudden give everybody these abilities out of nowhere. This is a thing that is progressive over time, where things are being unlocked in certain people that belong to certain theomorphic consciousness that was here in the beginning before it was physical. That means in planes of dimensionality, before we get physical bodies, they belong to that particular spiritual lineage.
right?
You will get these abilities that when the plane was half astral, half etherical, less dense and less density, they had certain abilities, whereas you didn't have. And those abilities will return over time. Now, some of the people saying is one day is going to be everybody get these abilities. I don't think it's not more like a cartoon or anything like that. I think it's very scientific that we can look at how the biology is going to shift and people get these abilities and everything. And it's very, very much been documented that they've been seeing children able to bend spoons with their minds, and seeing certain people able to do certain things. And the government has been keeping a close eye on these things and opening or starting these programs. So when I was looking at the show, I noticed they said super cell.
Yeah, like sickle cell. It's a play on sickle cell.
Yeah, a cell is a double entendre as well, because they had them in cells. And then you have these private prison companies. How deep does that go of capturing people and putting them in these cells and harvesting their DNA, because they're injecting and taking out things throughout the show I'm witnessing, harvesting their DNA, harvesting their melanin or whatever thing that they're looking into to.
Oh yeah, they harvest the melanin too. It's a very amazing conductor of energy. So they're using it in computers and all kinds of shit now. Kind of crazy.
Yeah, they've been using it for a while.
Yeah,
the word, the Hindu word drug, when you do the research and you go back, the word drug actually comes from the Hindu interpretation of melanin. Literally, the word drug, when you look back and find those texts, I can pull. I don't have them on me right now, but they're in my phone. So
is it in the blood?
It's in the blood. It's in the it's not just in the blood. This melanin isn't just your skin color. That's melanocyte. So people need to go ahead and get out of that. It's not just your skin color. It's that your skin color is melanocytes. And that is a form of what melanin draws. Melanin is the spiritual architect of drawing the blueprint of how your body is literally going to look in this existence. Before it even comes in this existence, melanin is the consciousness in the spiritual world that draws the blueprint of how things are going to look. It draws your neural system. It draws your veins. It draws everything before it develops. It's this consciousness that does that. So I want people to start looking at that term more broadly than just looking at, is it just black people or more darker tone people. It's way bigger than that. It's a spiritual study to understand this thing.
Could I show you something, Monty? So
Sure.
I've been doing a study lately on the biofield and seeing if it's real. You know, a lot of people.
Of the plasma field, which can be documented around the body. If it is a sort of intelligent life form, certain plasmas, means that it would be a soul. So we would be a soul within a soul. And I always thought that was wild. That quote that he said in The Demon in the Ecker, which means the mountain. And you're talking about earlier how the elites know these events happen, like these black sun type events happen, and they go underground. Now a lot of these underground bases are built within the mountain, and so like the story of the demon in the Ecker, which means mountain, and also the mountain, and also the Twin Peaks too. I noticed on Marina Abramovic, the where she writes on the wall. I did a podcast and I haven't looked at that stuff in so long, but right at the bottom where she talks about cutting the finger, at the bottom it has the Twin Peaks. It has the A and the A, which I thought was interesting.
Wow.
Of course. You know, she's got so much esoteric shit within her stuff. When you really look at it, it's crazy. And who knows what type of spells that lady's putting on us, right?
Exactly.
Right.
As I was telling you before,
bro, you guys. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead, bud.
No, as I was saying before, you know, everything is an energy extraction, and as you was talking about the chakra system, it's in alignment with the endocrine system. So when you have your 7 energy cortexes in alignment, that is basically the personification of your scroll of all, which is your 7 tablets of destiny. So when you have these etheric frequencies like merging in with your scroll of all, that's when you tap into certain abilities. So like the great majority of everything, these ley line grid systems.
Oh, no, yeah.
You guys hear me?
Yeah.
Good.
Okay. Yeah. It says prototypically in the middle of a city, there is a stellar polar symbolism of a pole right in the middle of cities. They have a pole symbolism to symbolize the North Star. And the ley lines, how they construct it in certain areas, because the churches are built specifically dealing with the ley lines. They don't just build a church to build a church. There is certain ley lines you can look at in Britain and other European countries where they have the St. Michael ley line, where they have a ton of churches just built on this line that goes around the globe, or goes around the plane, you know, before the globers and flat earthers start getting in my emails for saying that. And there's
likes, guys, please. You got 1,000 people in here and 42 likes on the video. That don't make no type of sense.
yeah, guys, make sure to like the video.
Thank you.
And yeah, so they call it Templarism. So based on the astrotheological alignment during certain times, portals open up over certain areas. They've been studying this for the longest. Matter of fact, the Catholic Church has been studying this, how to obtain holy possession. It was a term. I have to look back at what the term was. I think they call it divine possession. So instead of a demon possessing the body, they've been studying when does these ley lines open so they can have a direct connection to the super force potential of what we call God, or angels, which are sempiternal plasmic beings, can come down, possess their body, and give them information interdimensionally of things. So they've been trying to get possessed literally by these angelic or otherwise God itself for the longest, based on where these portals open up in the Van Allen belt, or the different levels of the tropo and ionosphere. These rays of energy come down directly from the stars, these bodies, based on where you're at a certain time. So even the Masons been recording that. They show it in their iconography that when they show the stars and they show the ladder, they're showing you that there is something like another temple that people don't see with the physical eye, that is interdimensional, that you can enter if you raise your vibration high enough to see these things and interact with them.
Is that basically the symbology to the interstellar gateway? Is that what you're basically talking about?
That sounds correct. Yes,
Okay.
it is a gateway that they're looking, but it's several gateways because there is a multiverse.
Right.
And there's a gateway opening now on the planet. I will tell people, I've been telling people about the quantum bodies gateway, whereas when you have a dream, you could be having a dream about another version form of you in a different reality of the multiverse. You ever had a dream?
Yeah. What's your theory on that? I have them all the time. Do you think
explaining.
we're really experiencing it?
Yes, I'm trying to explain it.
Okay,
That
go ahead.
the multiverse, there's several versions, there's infinite versions of you. They call it the infinite hotel equation.
Mm.
That's what it's called. It shows like the hotel is if I could pull it up later, but in the infinite hotel equation, it's like what the Tower of Babel represents. You know, it's literally, how do you fill up a hotel that's infinite of rooms? It's because the consciousness, the souls are coming in so much that the person who occupies the first room has to move up, and it moves up infinitely. So we have these different networks connected to the multiverse, whereas when you're dreaming, sometimes you can just open up the network and you can enter into a quantum body of you somewhere on the other side of the multiverse. And otherwise, when you made a decision in this realm, say if I made a decision to go left or right, in the other realm, you actually selected the opposite decision of what you made in this realm, which caused a whole other.
Well, what happened to Ani?
You know what's yeah, it froze, and I was googling that
things in your life is completely different.
Oh, there, you're back now. You froze. They froze you for about 30, 40 seconds.
Okay,
we didn't hear what you said.
I bet they did.
They did.
But go ahead.
Repeat whatever you said there.
I was saying that you enter into a different multiverse consciousness of you on the other side, where you made another decision and your whole life is different.
Yes, like the Apple series Dark Matter, it's pretty much all about that. Okay.
Right. They're showing you it. They're showing the black cube is literally the doorway on the other side of the multi. The black cube just represents another, it's an iconography of consciousness. That's
it's not evil like we've been led to believe either.
No, I mean,
so many people are like, "Oh, Tommy, you made your new logo, the black cube." I'm like, you don't even understand what it means. Like, you know, it's so funny. But the whole time it's been connected to being evil, right? The whole Saturn matrix narrative with the right.
Well, if you speak about a Saturn matrix, that's a term literally they developed that does mean that it affects consciousness. So evil is depending on the perspective. Okay, if you saw me shoot an old woman, you would say that was evil. But if I came back and told you the old woman killed my whole family,
right,
you would say justice.
It's perspective, right?
Evil is perspective. It's all perspective. You know, evil was created as an extremity of polarity. But the cube, going in what you were saying, in dark matter, the doorways, you saw the infinite doorways, that's the infinite hotel equation. They're showing you it and they could enter into another field of consciousness, a whole other reality, right, Tommy, based on their emotions.
Yes. So depending on what their emotions were when they opened that door, that would be the around. It's like as within, as without, right? So that's what they would vision. Whatever society it was like if they were real scared and thinking something negative, they would open that door and it was just chaos. That's kind of
Right.
crazy to think about that. It kind of makes you like, man, I got to be careful what I put my energy into and what I allow into me, right?
Right. Well, they're saying right before you go to sleep, which I talk about dream physics. How do you construct your mind? Do you actually write in your dream journal?
I do. And
You can pinpoint places and go directly to them. I'm telling you this right now. You can go directly to these places. And even when you wake up and you leave off at that place, they've been studying how you can go right back into the dream.
Yep.
And enter in the same spot you were before you left.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of a form of remote viewing is what you're talking about there.
I was in the show Evil you recommended. You saw that in there?
Oh, bro, did you like Evil?
I'm not done with it, but yeah, it's pretty decent.
I knew you would like it, Ani. I can't wait to decode that with you. I always love doing the movie decodes with you because you usually see something that I don't see. That's why I like doing them with you and Donut. You know, you guys see shit I don't.
You brought up the remote viewing, and there was remote viewers pointing to this weekend for July 15th, and that an event would happen, but it's also in the stars with Algol. I'm not sure what your guys' thoughts are on this certain date yesterday, 713, which is an 11, like 7, 3, whatever, like it equals 11. And there's like just all this 11 stuff that happened at 1811 military time. And there's a lot of 911 symbolism. This event that took place yesterday happened at 611, which if you just flip that backwards, it's 911.
Oh, 611, Godzilla 611. We just came out with that whole new Godzilla movie, and there's a whole narrative to the 611 that was connected to the whole pedo stuff. Remember, Ani? With the whole, don't even say that word, but to the whole, to the whole Trump connection of that, there was a whole 611 code. And that code ties back to San Francisco, and you know what? The big golden structure out there in San Fran. So that's interesting.
Well, so like that event took place in Pennsylvania, the Keystone State. The Keystone is Cancer. This event took place in Cancer, where Biden is from. So it seems very ritualistic, for sure. I just didn't know if y'all had anything with that astrology, that date, that time, because that's what I really
that new series too. The one on what's it on Max? It's about the girls and the killing. It was real famous. They took a test in it called the Keystone exam. So there's this whole connection to Keystone I'm seeing too in a lot of the new series. And we had that with the bridge. Just the Alf guy too, Ani. Did you see him that died, bro? So he let me pull up this slide I got for you on it. I'll show it to you, Ani.
Okay.
It's
I got a good understanding of what happened yesterday, and I got some mind-blowing information about that.
We just got to be careful how we do it, because I don't want to get in no trouble. But as long as
my channel got in trouble because I covered it.
Be careful talking about that too, because you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Hello. So they took it down.
They just temporarily.
Don't talk about it, guys. Remember, I got in trouble with Paranoid for this exact thing.
Oh, okay.
Having him on my channel, when he was in trouble. I'm trying to hint to you guys, like, don't talk about that.
But yeah, according to the incident that happened yesterday, it seemed like the whole template and the blueprint was already set out. Like all this stuff that lined up with what happened yesterday with Trump. It seems if like the 9/11 and the 119, the numerology, it lines up with everything prophetically in real time according to gematria. They've been doing the 9/11 and the 119 play since the inception point of Donald Trump's when he came on the scene. They put him in the Gremlins movie. They had basically like a double